Robert F. Kennedy Jr., known as a pretty hardcore vaccine skeptic and somebody that I've called out quite frequently for the misinformation he spread about the war in Ukraine, like when he went on Tucker Carlson's show and said that for every one Russian that dies in combat, 7 Ukrainians die. He got that from a photoshopped version of the Jack Texera leaks. It wasn't only him that fell for it, though. Tucker Carlson also fell for it. He actually aired it twice on his show, the second time being from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast and said that we spent, I think, upwards of $3 trillion on the war in Ukraine, which if that was the case, can I tell you, there would not only not be an ammo shortage on important points in the front, like Avdiivka and Krinky and on these other locations, and Kupiansk, important fighting points along the front line. The Ukrainians would be trying to figure out if they wanted the mech suits to have jetpacks or if they're just fine with super speed. Okay, no, we didn't give them $3 trillion fucking dollars. If we gave them $3 trillion, we wouldn't talk about them having F-16s. We'd be talking about them having maybe like what, upwards of hundreds of F-35s? No, we didn't give them that type of money. He is known for spreading a lot of misinformation, and he's also known for having really zero experience in public office before, but his last name is Kennedy. And that is politically beneficial. So outside of him going on podcast after podcast after podcast to continue spreading populist nonsense with no basis in facts, just putting on the clown circus, he decided that he was going to make a new move. Now, I don't know, and I'm going to be honest here, if he decided this, really, or if it was the American Values 2024 PAC, like he says, but this ad, which we're about to watch, was played during the Super Bowl for $7 million after being purchased by the American Values PAC. And it is interesting. It's a Kennedy ad. Check it out.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do?
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
American Values 2024 is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
So this might be a little confusing, especially if you're a non-American or you're a Zoomer like me and you weren't alive during, the peak of the Cuban Missile Crisis. That you might not know what this is, especially since, like, if you look here, he's like having a seizure in these photos. I don't know what's going on here, right? He's finding new medical complications as the campaign goes on. No, this is an edited version of an old JFK ad where they superimposed RFK on top of JFK. This is the original ad from the Kennedy Johnson run.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new?
It's exactly the
a man
same.
who's old enough to know
And young enough to do?
By the way, can I just say, young enough to do, when we're talking, how old is RFK? JFK was in his 30s. RFK age. He's 70 years old. What do you mean young enough to do? Okay, just because Biden is, creeping towards 80 doesn't mean 70 years is young now, okay? This is the same age of Putin, and people are talking about, oh, he's getting nearing the end of his legacy. He's going to die soon. And you're just talking about really getting to the public office now, starting now. Okay, anyway, point is, we don't need to watch the rest of the ad. Point is, he ripped off an old Kennedy ad. He did it completely without permission. This, at least the American Values PAC did. And let me just say that taking this without permission and superimposing yourself on top of arguably the most popular American president in history, if not one of the most popular American presidents in history, who led us through the Cuban Missile Crisis during a period of instability as nuclear stockpiles were expanding, setting the precedent for stopping the expansion of nuclear stockpiles, and the president to stop the expansion of nuclear weapons across more nation states. nuclear non-proliferation. And those goals were set between JFK and Brezhnev before it be continuing to be pursued by Vice President Johnson once he came to the presidency. I mean, JFK led America in an extremely important time in American history and made historic contributions to American nuclear policy and kept people, I'm going to say maniacs, like Curtis LeMay on a leash, who was talking about nuking Cuba. This is what he contributed to America. Now, there's a bunch of other things that he's contributed to America, right? But when you're talking about what I care about, and as somebody who's trying to study a lot about nuclear brinksmanship right now, that's something legitimate that he's contributed. RFK has contributed nothing close to that to make the comparison between him and JFK. The only thing these two men share is a name. That's it. That is literally it. And JFK's family, the Kennedy family, is not happy with this. And they're not really happy with his campaign period, but they're especially not happy with him superimposing himself on JFK's legacy, which they say is starting to smear JFK's legacy. Now, RFK took this on the chin, and he responded and he started to apologize, because it's probably not good to have the entirety of your family condemning you on the campaign trail if you're trying to use the Kennedy name to build your brand. Hey, IRI, you're on an airplane over Whoa, IRI's on an airplane over Colorado right now. So IRI was in Ohio with the rest of us. He was canvassing, you know, he's a dedicated canvasser just like the rest of us. And he was also my news co-host. And let me just say, I didn't know how the news co-hosting was going to go in person, but we're going to release more of the segments over the next few days, more of the interviews, the interview with Congressman Tim Ryan that we did, the interviews with some local city officials, some state delegate candidates. I think we actually already released one tonight. And they're really good. We lost one. I think we lost one of the best ones too, because it was talking about using a cash incentive to get kids to school, because schools right now have really low retention rates in Ohio and in Cincinnati. But I think we did really well. I think we did fantastic, in fact. I think Not So Erudite was really smart to put us together. And I wouldn't have had a better co-host. Thank you, IRI. Now, on to somebody who is not a decent political commentator, or at least I would say one of the better ones on political Twitch. Now let's talk about this dumb schmuck. Back over to this dumb schmuck. So RFK's family wasn't happy to see him smear JFK's legacy like that. So what did RFK do? Well, it's probably not smart to have your entire family against you on the campaign trail. So what he ended up doing was releasing an apology. Let me read it to you. I'm so sorry if the Super Bowl advertisement caused anyone in my family pain. The ad was created and aired by the American Values Super PAC without any involvement or approval from my campaign. FEC rules prohibit Super PACs from consulting with me or my staff. I love you all. God bless you. So, number one, is it true that it is illegal for these PACs to coordinate with campaigns? Yes, it is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't do that, because even if it's illegal, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Okay, that's the first thing. And I would say out of all the candidates who would most brazenly break these types of laws, I'd probably put RFK at the front of the list of those lists of candidates, but I don't have any evidence. So maybe this was completely separate from him. He would have never put his face superimposed on the legacy of a much greater man who contributed much more to not only the United States, but to human civilization by protecting the world and America during an extremely crucial time in American nuclear policy. He would never do that. Just a problem with this. It was his pinned post. And it was his pinned post after it played as a Super Bowl ad. So not only did he tweet it out and then retweet it multiple times, he also liked it so much, it became his favorite tweet. I understand that RFK is like an anti-establishment candidate, and the people that are going to him want to be, bucking, their parents say, fuck you, mom and dad, I'm going with RFK. Whatever it is. I don't know the motivations for each person. But this is like right in front of your face, he's reaching into your pocket and taking the money out. Right in front of your face, he's slapping you again and again and again. Say he isn't doing something while he does it on the same account he's denying it. While he was tweeting out his apology, if you clicked his account and scrolled up, you would find it to be his pinned tweet. I'm so sorry about this. Pin. I think he knew that at the end of the day, having his family condemn him and lambaste him and give no apologetic response would probably look bad. So he just tried to separate himself from the ad, which again cost $7 million. It's a pretty penny. And I would say for $7 million, you probably should have had better editing since the pictures were shaking as slides were moving across the screen. Point is, though, this guy is no JFK, but Lloyd Benson said it best.
I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Damn, dude, that's still a mic drop. That's still a mic drop all these years later. My goodness.